everyone, welcome to the OklaRoots YouTube channel. In today's embroidery tutorial, we're going to be going over the perfectly pieced box for November, and this comes to us from Me Time Delivered. Now, if you've been here for a minute, you know we love perfectly pieced over here. It is the perfect combination of quilt blocks and embroidery, because that's exactly what it is. You're using an embroidery machine to make quilt blocks. If you didn't know, before I started ever making bags or doing a machine embroidery or anything like that, I was a quilter. Quilting was kind of like how I got used to figuring out how you thread a needle and make the sewing machine actually work. So I am all over any opportunity to be making quilt blocks. And using an embroidery machine is really cool because you get perfect quilt blocks in a way that's very difficult to do when you're piecing them one by hand. And this month is a good one. This is a really good one for why an embroidery machine works so well with some of these more complicated blocks. So you don't have to sign up for the box. You could sign up for just the digital files. And either way, just that or the box, you will get the digital files, which is all you need to plug into your embroidery machine and then make these quilt blocks. So I use the digital files. I have not opened this box yet, but I did use the digital files and I made 4 of this month's quilt block and I already sewed them together and I have a little square and I want to show you. So I made 4 of the 4-inch blocks. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 of the blocks. When you come together like this, it looks like a little wreath. Isn't that adorable? So I just sewed these together in a little square. I still have, the back is completely raw. I am going to set this to the side. So I don't have a project to show you with this block today, sadly, because as we go into the holidays on the channel, we're going to be doing some holiday themed bags. And I think that this is going to work really well with one of the patterns. So I'm going to set this to the side for a future tutorial. So if you want to see how this gets used later on, stay tuned. But all of this material was just scraps. Was just my scrap bin over here. I found some green scraps, some light colored scraps, and then I just threw it in there and this is what came out. So this is a fun one, and you can see this is a very kind of abstract geometric design here with all these little triangles. If you were to try to do this by just cutting out triangles and sewing them together, it would be very difficult. You would definitely have some issues with stretching. Whenever we cut material in a triangle, you're going to have one edge that's not really cut on the weft or the warp or the bias. It's going to be cut in some sort of odd way that's going to stretch as you're working with it, and so it's difficult to get these perfect points like this where they just match up just like a puzzle. It's hard to do that just by cutting out pieces and sewing them together. So the embroidery machine is definitely a game changer when it comes to a block like this. So thank you so much to Me Time Delivered for sponsoring today's tutorial. I absolutely love working with them. This is so fun. It's just a little treat. It's like a little present every month that arrives. It's just a bright orange box on your doorstep, and it just makes you so happy because you know there's going to be some goodies in here. If you're interested in signing up, make sure you check the link down below. I will have links for you as well as a code for free shipping. If you're new to the OklaRoots YouTube channel, please consider clicking subscribe down below. If at any point you like this video, please give it a like. Any questions, comments, anything at all, leave them down in the comment section. I don't believe we're going to have timestamps today because we really are just going to be unboxing this and then running through the design real quick. This is a fun one. It's an easy one. It looks hard. It looks complicated, but it's not. So we're going to just do that. All right, guys, let's get started. All right, let's open her up. What do we have this month? So let's see. I always got to push down the top. Perfectly pieced, the most beautiful box. Like I said, I keep these boxes. I don't store all of the material that comes in the box in them. I actually use it to store pieces of templates and acrylic things that we're working on for our shop. So these are just perfect boxes to keep your craft room organized, and they're pretty. So perfectly pieced, November 2022. Let's flip it over. Ooh, we have some beautiful ooh, what is all this? I don't know what this is. Okay, let's put this to the side and just dig in. So let's see, we have our getting started, which tells you how to work with all of this. Perfect. Ooh, we've got some more clear blue tiles to add to our collection. Beautiful. Look at this material, guys. Oh my goodness. I hope you like green. These are beautiful shades of green. Okay, let's just dive into this, shall we? Let's just do it. Take that off. So it says, cut with hope, stitch with grace, quilt with dreams, bind with laughter, share with love. That's the thing about quilting. It's just made from love. Look at this. I don't know if you can see. This has like a sparkle to it, like a gold shimmer. I don't know if the camera's picking it up. It's so pretty. So we have that, and we have this beautiful green. and then like a textured green, and then a lighter color here. This one also has like a texture to it, but it's kind of hard to see. Again, camera, are you picking it up? And then this. And you'll see that there are different cuts of material here. They're not all like a fat quarter or anything like that, because there are projects that they suggest you make with these, and they want to make sure you have enough material to do that. So maybe a table runner, maybe a pillow, something like that. They want to make sure you have enough for the backing of that project, as well as all the material you'll need for the blocks. Okay, next we have this beautiful green color. This is probably my favorite thing about the box, is every month you get a new spool of thread. And thread, you know, it's kind of daunting when you go into the craft store, you go into the fabric store, and you're like, well, I need to get some embroidery thread. And you see that big rack with all the colors, and you're like, oh man, do I need to buy every single one of those colors? This is so overwhelming. So it's nice that it's like every month you're gonna have a new color to add to your stash, and before you know it, you're gonna have as many colors as you need for whatever project you're working on. So what is this? I don't know what this is. It's like a little clippy. It's like I don't know what this is. What is this? So it says it's the Ochfeld wire hanger. I mean, it's beautiful. You can definitely like make something adorable and hang it, but let's see if it gives us suggestions. Hold on. So then here we have, again, one of the best things, the printout of the instructions, so you don't have to keep your iPad or your laptop near you while you're working on this. You can just use this printout, flip through it, and it will tell you everything you need. Okay, so I can kind of see here, it made like the little block like I did, except it bound it and made like a cute little decoration. And then it uses the clips to hang it to display. Ooh, let me try that. Come here, you. I want to display you because you're beautiful. Oh yeah, that's cute, isn't it? I could just bind it, put some backing on it, and then just hang it up. How sweet is that? Oh my gosh, I love it. You know what this would be cute on? If you made a couple of these and then you personalized it with the fabric and then maybe used a little bit more embroidery or heat transfer vinyl with, you can put like your kids' names, like each child has their own, and you put their name on it and then you hang this on their door to their bedroom, and it's kind of like a little wreath for their bedroom doors for the holidays. Isn't that cute? I think that's adorable. I might have to do that. I gotta make some more of these. Okay, so we got everything out of the box. Now let's go through all of our tools. So the first and most important tool is your embroidery machine. I will be embroidering on the Brother PE800. It is a fantastic entry-level embroidery machine. It's on the more affordable size, but it has a larger hoop, which is the most important thing when you're picking an embroidery machine. A lot of very inexpensive embroidery machines come with a standard 4x4 hoop, which is about this size, but you are very, very limited on projects. For example, there are 4 quilt block sizes in each month for Perfectly Pieced, but if you only have a 4x4 hoop, you can only make one of them. The teeny tiny 2" by 2" ones. That's it. You cannot make any of the other ones. If you have a 5x7 hoop, you have a lot more options. There are 2 of the blocks you can make, but when it comes to other projects, you just have a lot of options. Many times, embroidery designers, digitizers, they will think of those who have a 5x7 hoop and they will accommodate that for them. However, the 4x4 hoop, you're very limited. So if you are looking to invest in an embroidery machine, but you don't want to buy the 15 needle, $20,000 machine, which again is not an entry-level machine, I do not recommend you get that if you've never done this before. This is the one you want. This is a great entry-level embroidery machine. So whether you're a hobbyist or you're a small business looking to get into embroidery, this is a great machine to start at. I know, I just can't rave enough about it. So I have a whole video going over unboxing it. I will link that below. And since I'll be making the 4x4 block today, I need a bigger hoop than that. So I have my 5x7 hoop. And then here are just a few of my other embroidery essentials. Kimberbell tape is the best tape out there. It's just the best. It will hold your fabric down. You can stitch over it. It's not going to gum up your needle. It's going to be easy to get out of the threads. It's not going to let things move around. It's just the best tape. So Kimberbell tape. And then I have some wash away stabilizer here. Now this is not a paper stabilizer. It's a plasticky wash away stabilizer. I get mine off of Amazon. I'll have a link down below. But this stuff is great because you can easily leave it on. You don't have to wash it out before you quilt the pieces together. So for example, on the block I already did, and you see on the back, I still have that stabilizer here, and I will leave that. And even if I make a huge quilt, I will not take it out. And if I wash the quilt, it will just dissolve on its own, which is no problem. Next, you're gonna need some embroidery scissors. They look just like this. They curve down. These are a must-have when you're doing applique especially, but also just any type of embroidery. These are the embroidery scissors you need. I just wanted to show you guys what I use in my bobbin. This is called Bottom Line. It's from Superior Threads. They have a lot of different colors. This machine, you do have to wind your bobbins in order to use it. There are lots of machines out there, again, the bigger machines where you use pre-wound bobbins, so you would not need this. However, if you do have to wind your own bobbin, bottom line is a great option. And then, always, my little tiny Cricut iron. This is a must-have, again, with all of these, especially with the quilt blocks, because we do need to press it, but we need to press them in a very tiny space, and you don't want to accidentally press the plastic. So a small iron is incredibly helpful here. Okay, so the first thing we want to do is figure out our blocks. Now, you can put this together to make it look like a little wreath, or you can put it together to have more of like an abstract look. You have a lot of options here. Play with placement of colors on these different blocks. I'm going to stick with the wreath design. So I have 3 different shades of green and 1 background shade. So I'm going to use, well, let's see, how do we want to do this? Maybe we'll mix it up. What if we made each one of the background colors a different shade of green? Like that. Or no, like, no. Like that? No. Like that. We'll do it like that. So we'll make each one of the background colors a different shade of green. And then the wreath part right here, instead of green, we'll make that 3 cuts of the white color. So we'll have like a white wreath with a green background. Let's try that. So you can see they're numbered. It's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You're going to take those numbers and look back here on the back, and you're going to find your block size, and you're going to cut based off the size that it has on the back here. I forgot to mention, you're also going to need a scrap cut of binding. Again, cut this down to the size that your pattern suggests. So now I have all my pieces cut, and I'm just going to quickly organize them. So especially if I'm making multiple of these, this is kind of like how I like to put it together since I have to make them one at a time. I put the batting down first, and then I'll grab cut 1 and lay that right side down. And I'll take cut 2 and lay that one right side down. Cut 3, same thing. And then cut 4 on top of that. Cut 5. And then the biggest cut, cut 6, right side down. So that way when I do that, just flip this over and I can just quickly go bang, bang, bang. I don't have to like search for my pieces. I just know I do batting and then I have piece 1, piece 2, piece 3. And it just keeps me organized, especially if I'm doing a lot of these blocks. So let's grab our stabilizer and hoop it. I like to just lay it over this way. I like to lay it over the bottom hoop, and then I take the inner hoop and just insert it in there and tighten it up and try to get this as taut as possible. You'll notice with this type of stabilizer, if you start pulling on it on the sides, it's just going to rip over here. So don't work too hard at this. Just get it as taut as you can. Tighten up your hoop. All right, let's get the machine ready. So the first thing I want to do is go find my file. I already have it on my flash drive here on the side. So I'm just going to find it in here. There it is. Set it. I can see that this one here is highlighted, meaning that's the size hoop I have to use. I cannot use a smaller hoop. Click Edit and Embroider. And now it's all ready to go. I'm going to grab the new thread in the box and install that here. Once I have that threaded, I can just install my hoop. And we're going to run the first step, which is going to stitch out placement for our batting. Now we can just lift up the presser foot, grab our cut of batting, and lay our batting over the stitched area. Make sure it covers it completely. And now we're going to tack down the batting. Once you have that tacked down, go ahead and remove the hoop from the machine. And now you want to gently lift up on the raw edges of the batting and trim down close to the stitching, but don't cut the stitching. It's very easy to do. I've done it a few times when I was making these blocks. So I'm just cutting very, very close to it. And that's why these curved scissors come in really handy. But you don't want to cut the stitching and you don't want to cut the stabilizer. If you cut the stitching just a little bit, that's okay. You don't have to redo this. As long as the whole block can kind of stay in place, you'll be fine. Once you have that trimmed down, put this back in the machine. And now we're going to stitch placement lines for all of the blocks. So now we're going to take fabric piece number 1 and we're going to cover the number 1 spot, which is this triangle right here over on the right side. This is the only piece of fabric that you're going to apply right side up. So this one's going to go in right side up. Make sure it's completely covering that triangle all the way to the very, very edge of the block, which is off of the batting. And now let's stitch down. It's block 1. And now let's remove the hoop from the machine. You're going to lift up the bottom edge of the material here, not the top, the bottom edge, and you're going to trim off the material below that stitch line. So just right next to the stitches. And now you're going to take fabric piece number 2 and you're going to lay this right side down on top of fabric piece number 1, lining up the bottom straight edge, which is the longer edge, with that stitch line. Make sure it completely lines up with it. Don't let it be off like this or else you're not going to cover this part of your block. So it needs to completely line up with the stitch line. There you go. And let's put this back in the machine. And now let's stitch down fabric piece number 2. Once you have that stitched down, you're going to fold fabric piece number 2 right side up, just like that. Grab your little iron and just quickly press right along that seam, just a tiny bit of a second. All right, let's put this back in the machine. And now we're going to stitch the placement for fabric number 3. Take the hoop out of the machine, and then on the bottom right edge here where you have that overhang of fabric, that's what we're going to trim off. So lift it up carefully and trim it down right next to the stitch line. Now take your number 3 cut of fabric and lay it right side down, lining up the long edge with that stitch line, and it should be covering fabric number 2. And just make sure it's lined up correctly with the lines. There we go. So now let's stitch fabric number 3 in place. Once you have that stitched down, fold fabric 3 back right side up and press right along that fold carefully. And now let's put it back in the machine and we're going to stitch down placement for fabric piece 4. Remove the hoop, and this time we're going to trim off over here on the left side. So just lift up that left side of the fabric and trim down right by the stitches. And then grab fabric piece 4 and lay that right side down, covering the center fabric and lining up the long edge with the stitch line. And now let's stitch down fabric piece number 4. Pull out the hoop and flip fabric 4 right side up and give it a very gentle press right along that seam. There we go. And now we're going to stitch placement for fabric piece number 5. So now we're going to lift up the top left edge of fabric 4 and trim that down right along the stitches. Grab your fabric 5. Oh, I just love how shimmery this is. And lay that right side down, covering the fabric and lining up the long edge with the stitch line. And now let's go stitch down piece 5. Lift up fabric piece 5 right side up, give it a press carefully. And now we're going to stitch down placement for the final piece of fabric, number 6. Take it out of the hoop and let's lift up the top edge. I think this was number 1. And we'll trim that down. We're going to trim down everything that's above that last stitch line we just made. There we go. I know, it looks kind of like a mess right now. Like, how is that going to turn out into a block? But it does. It's great. Take your final piece of fabric, number 6, and lay it right side down. This is your biggest piece of fabric. Line up the long edge with the stitch line. Make sure it's completely going from end to end. Don't let it go off even a little bit. In order to cover the full block, you have to make sure it goes all the way. So now let's go stitch down the final piece. And then lift up that piece right side up. And press that seam with your iron. It is important that you press. It's what keeps it looking so perfect. All right, back in the machine the hoop goes. So this next step is going to stitch down the square, which holds down the whole block. So the next steps are going to stitch out embroidery designs in 3 different sections. So if you want to switch out your thread for each one of these, you definitely can. And then after that, we have an additional stitch out for little berries where I will switch the color, but for the 3 sections on the block, I'm going to keep the color the same. So now I'm going to grab some red and put red thread in for the little berries because they're berries, right? You can use whatever color you want though. All right, once it's all done, remove the hoop from the machine. And let's take our little block out of the hoop. I know it still looks kind of like a mess. And honestly, even when the block is done, you don't see it until it all comes together. So I'm just gonna grab a ruler and we're gonna cut out a 4.5 inch by 4.5 inch square. These lines that were stitched on that square outline, that is your 4.5 inch by 4.5 inch square. But I also like to use a ruler because sometimes mine ends up a little on the small size, which is fine. And there we go. How stinking cute is that little block? Isn't that so sweet? I love that we did the white for the wreath part because I feel like it really pops. Like the green thread and the red berries really, really pop. So I'm gonna make 3 more of these off camera and put together a little wreath just like I did originally right here. I'll put a photo of that wreath right here since I haven't done it yet, but future Jess will have it done. I love this so much. And I hope you guys have fun with this because again, You could make a cute little wall hanging like this, and like I said, how cute. Bedroom door wreath, right? So that way you don't have like all the bits and the glitter and the stuff that comes off of those store-bought wreaths. You know, you don't have to worry about when the kids slam the door and all those little things just start going down to the carpet and you're vacuuming every day. How do I know these things? This is a less messy option. You could just, again, put their name on it, make it very custom, hang it on their door. So I hope you love making this. If you're joining in with Perfectly Pieced and you made this blog, let me know. Let me know what kind of color options you're using. Also, let me know if you switch up the design completely, because again, we have a lot of shapes here. When we design it like this, yes, 4 of them coming together, we have a wreath. But if you put darker colors and lighter colors in different spots, you're gonna have a totally different shape. So I love that, and I would love to see what you guys are doing with it. I hope you're having a great day. Have a fantastic rest of your week. Get out there and make something. Bye, guys.